Hell yeah.
Feels good. I'm cool with it.
All right, good. He's like, bro, just hurry the fuck up. Got you.
It's all good.
All right. So we're back rolling again?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Little Starbies.
Light on.
Dude,
I love those red lights on that. Those things are nice.
which one? Oh, like on the Sony FX?
Yeah.
Didn't they film these? They filmed Dune with these, right?
I don't know if it was Dune. They did that movie, The Creator.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, The Creator. It's like that AI one with the robots and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, they just shot that one all on FX3s.
Fuck yeah. Dude, right here with the cold brew, when I drink too much of this shit, I get like paranoid. Do you get paranoid with these when you drink too much caffeine?
I do. So I don't really drink a whole lot of coffee. I usually do. I have an espresso machine. So I just do like one espresso in the morning, and then that like is pretty good for like the rest of the day. But yeah, definitely. If you have way too much, sure.
Cracked out and shit.
Raises your cortisol level, bro. You need to keep that down.
Yeah, I know. I need to chill out. How do you feel about working with other creators? Like for me, I'm sure you've heard my perspective, and I'm sure it's different than yours. That's just been my experience. I find it a little bit difficult to work with them because, like I said, everyone wants to be the star of the show, and maybe that might be me. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm not letting them have their own control or something. But do you find that to be true or not?
So it kind of depends for me because I haven't worked with a lot of creators to this point outside of like my friend group where like we work on like actual projects that they have. And that's obviously like they're my friends. So like we're not going to have any issues.
Yeah.
The only other time I have like new people is through like the fight nights that we do with Dan Henderson, you know? So like with that, it's very like touch and go because like sometimes you'll have like a photographer and they're like, hey, like literally all I ask is when they come, if they want to take photos and like use those photos however they want, that's fine. Just send me the raws.
That's what I was getting at. You know? They don't like sharing the raws. They
hate sending the raws.
How do you feel about that?
Some people are cool. Like if they like, there's this one guy that we have that edits photos, and he's doing a good job. Like at least he sends me the photos. But there's some people that just don't send me anything, and then it's like, okay, well, like you're taking up space here, and then like you give me nothing.
Yeah. I think you know what I noticed. I'm glad you brought that up. I think the ones who have a problem sharing the raws are the ones that are a little bit, I don't want to say lower end, but they don't have too much going for them. The ones that are doing big projects, they're like, yeah, I'll send you the raws. Like, it doesn't mean too much, but I think it goes down to that scarcity mindset. Like, every piece of content, they think they have to, like, guard it like it means more than it really does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense or not?
Well, it's also, people are always just afraid of losing what they have.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been there, too.
Yeah, I think what I'm starting to realize, there's enough success for everybody, and when you're first coming up, it seems like there's only a little sliver and you have a little window of time to get after it. So it's kind of like you have that defensive mindset, like, nah, it's fine. You know what I mean? Maybe that just might be me. You know what I mean? I don't know if you can relate to that. But.
Well, it's also, you gotta like, it really comes down to how you work with other people. Because like I was like that when I first started working with Dan, because it's like, who am I?
Yeah.
I'm working with like a UFC legend, and I'm like a nobody, you know. So it's like you always are like, I spent a lot of months like super stressed out, thinking like, okay, like he could let me go any day now, and then okay, this is like, I have some other stuff, but it's not gonna cover everything, so then I'm gonna have to figure stuff out. And then just being in like that stressed mindset all the time is like, I feel like it just shaves years off.
Dude, you know what? And it affects the work. That's exactly how I was with one of my recent companies that I was working for. Is like for a whole year, like I'm just like, man, when are they gonna let me go? When are they gonna let me go? And as soon as I went from hourly to contractor, all that stress went away. I started performing better at work. I started getting more clients, you know, and I don't think that was a coincidence, you know. I think putting yourself under that kind of pressure, and why I do it, I don't know. You know what I mean? I think it's just kind of like, you don't really believe you're him yet. You know, is he him?
Yeah.
But if you truly believe that,
I don't think so.
Yeah. What? Don't think about what?
That I'm him.
Oh yeah. No, I think and that's one thing people have to realize too. Like, to prove, it's about those little wins. You know, it's not about just doing one big win and then you're satisfied for that. You continuously have to keep proving to yourself, and just your daily habits, showing yourself that you can get up at the time you said you were going to get up, edit that video when you said you were going to edit that video, and then that confidence rolls into every single project you do. But same thing vice versa. You know, you didn't get that edit done on time, client's a little bit pissed, you woke up a little bit later, you know what I mean? And all of that, so it's like a downward spiral. Do you find that to be true or no?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think too, like, I definitely look at content on Instagram a lot different, because like before, like I swear I'd make videos and I'm like, oh, this person's videos are whack. Yeah. Like my videos are way better than them.
Yeah.
But then like once you start doing like a certain amount of volume, you realize that like,
bro, you can't do top performance every time.
Well, depending on what you're doing, it doesn't make sense to put that much work into it. You know, like when you're doing stuff like on Instagram where it's like quick things, you're doing like quick reels and stuff. Yeah, I could spend 8 hours on one reel and make it look dope. But then like it's just not worth the juice isn't worth the squeeze. You know what I mean? So I know that's how I feel with like a lot of people, where it's like, okay, like this was probably something done quickly. Like there was a quick turnaround time on this. So I don't feel like I judge people the same way as I did when I first started.
You know what?
Which is probably a good thing.
No, that was beautifully put. Because a videographer, you know, that kind of got me into this or whatever, I would look at some of his stuff and I'd be like, bro, how's that? You know what I mean? Like, and I know his case, and I've seen the crazy stuff he's done. I'm like, oh, he's just being lazy. But like you said, what juice ain't worth the squeeze or something like that. Yeah. Like not that you shouldn't put into it. It doesn't make sense to do 8 hours on a reel when you have like 100 of those little mini reels to do, and it really won't make that big of a difference. They're going to be probably the same level of impressed regardless.
Yeah, and it comes back to what you were saying, where you're saying like reminding people that you're still here by posting all the time.
I might be butchering this, but they who stays in their face wins the race. And once I finally started implementing that, like more so not just posting, waiting for the perfect post, I just post if it's good enough, you know, I just put it out there, and most of the time it's good. And the way I look at social media before, it was like I need those likes for that validation, for me to have that confidence. But I treat myself like I look at just myself overall as more of a business. I'm either planting seeds or making a booking with every single post I do. Okay, I didn't get those likes, but I just reminded, you know, a couple hundred people that I'm still here, and that might have planted the seed that, oh, I need to book with him for this Valentine's Day shoot coming up, or, oh, I have this coming up. They may not hit you up right away, or they might actually just hit you up, you know, but I'm doing more volume, not necessarily getting up in my own head looking for perfection on every single post, but just posting a lot more. Not to say that you shouldn't, you know, take the time to uphold a certain standard on your work, you know, but just
that's why I feel like what I was telling you earlier about using DaVinci and getting really into color. I think it's a way better use of your time to get really dialed in with your color and just make your shots look clean than worrying about crazy edits. So that's what I kind of do now. Like I already have all my presets set up in a way where I'm like 90% of the way there, just dragging and dropping a preset that I've created already. And that's one thing that I think benefited me a lot is I don't like using other people's shit. Like even when I first started footage, like LUTs.
Okay.
Never used a LUT my entire fucking life. The only ones that I would use technically, I don't really consider it to be like people slap a LUT on and then they call it their look, you know, but it's more like I would use maybe like a Kodak LUT to make it look more filmic and then color grading it from there.
That's fair. That's,
you know,
that's
so
okay.
it's more about the contrast curve that it has. That's hard to replicate just tweaking like a line, you know. Sometimes it's easier to get that base and then color it from there, but never as far as just like taking a look from somebody and then like putting it on my stuff.
So speaking of color, one thing I want to talk about. So I'm a Premiere Pro user. You're a DaVinci user.
So we're better than you. No, I'm just kidding.
No, honestly, I'm starting to believe that with what you showed me today. Just the fact, what was it? You said you can like position the sun and have the shadows.
Oh yeah, the relight feature.
Tell me more about that.
I used that so it was I don't know. We'll wait on this. I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But we'll wait to potentially post this because technically, well, it's fine. They won't know.
Okay. I think I can.
But it's for a music video for like a pretty big artist that's not been released yet. But basically, so they're all up in Canada, and the shot that he wanted, it was supposed to be like morning time.
Yes.
So it's like when the sun's peeking through like the window, because the very next scene is a girl and she's standing by a window looking out of it, and the sun's like beaming through because they put like a 600D out the window and beamed it through, so it looked like the sunlight coming over the ridge into the house. But obviously they're in Canada, so it's like all overcast. Sun's never out. So
no shadows, no
zero shadows, nothing. So in DaVinci they have a thing called relight where you can pick like where you want the source of light to be, and it'll mimic as if there was a light there, so that it'll have like the roll off on the shadows and everything. So I made it look like the half side of the castle was all lit, but then the rest of it was like all what it looked like.
Yeah, you're not doing that in Premiere Pro at all. You know what I mean?
Like, it might. I don't use it, so I don't know. But I just don't.
I haven't heard of it.
I don't like their coloring.
The color science. What do you mean by the color science? Like what?
Not like their color science, but like the way. Like I learned this in Final Cut too. Like it's just not set up in a way to grade professionally. So like how I was.
So would you say Premiere Pro is still the industry standard, or is it DaVinci now?
It's the industry. Well, DaVinci's for color, 100%. Everybody uses it. I don't know a single person that color grades in anything else other than that. But yeah, but it comes down to like the editing aspect of it. People like being able to edit in Premiere Pro, send it over to After Effects instantly, send it back. Like there's the round tripping is easier.
So there's different purposes for each one.
Yeah, and then it's more like collaborative too. Like you can work with like other people within it.
Most
like
people probably use Premiere Pro versus DaVinci. Like more people have an iPhone versus an Android. Type situation.
Exactly. At least in this country.
Yeah, right. Speaking of other countries, like I don't know why, but I've seen like crazy videographers in India. Like
the Middle East right now is crazy.
What is going on?
Like Dubai. There's this colorist guy that I really like out of there. His name's like Ha Colorist, like HA. He does some crazy stuff, and it's literally like he grades it so crazy, and it's like a coffee shop. Yeah. Like it's
why is it so popping over there? What do you think?
Just because of the way it's set up. They don't have any taxes. Their money's worth way more than ours.
They have more free time probably, huh?
People want to do way more. I was supposed to do a shoot out in...
if you say Dubai, I'm moving.
Oh my gosh. No, it's Bahrain. And it's kind of... It's not too far from there, but it's like, it's all the same to people from here. They don't know. But their money's worth way more than ours. Like if I would have had to go out there, like it's almost like $1.70 to $1 for us. So everything would have been twice as expensive for me to go out there.
Damn, that's crazy.
So that's another thing. It draws a lot of business over there because of that.
But I know, I'm glad I'm not tripping. I was like, yeah, something going on in the Middle East. Like they're having some crazy edits over there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm glad
dude, the money over there.
That's not the competition over here.
Dude, if you see the cities over there, it's way crazier than anything we have.
Oh yeah.
They have like air conditioning streets. Like they have like vents on the streets.
Are you serious?
Like, cool it down because it gets so hot. Yes, dude, it's crazy. They have crazy stuff.
Must be nice.
I know. One day I'll be over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one that company I told you I was on the board for, the USA MMA. The youth MMA events they do are all in Dubai.
Oh wow.
So at some point,
get it for that.
Probably end
do some
up
BTS for
there.
You.
Yeah.
But to get a little more personal, so why? What do you call yourself? A videographer, photographer, content creator, cinematographer? What?
Sometimes I say cinematographer because it sounds cooler.
Yeah. But do most people really know what a cinematographer is?
No, but I'd probably say more videographer with what I do right now. Because,
definitely not content creator.
I mean, I need to be more of it. But
I think the reason why I don't like to say content creator is because if you have an iPhone, you're a content creator.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be put in that category because I'm not in that category. I wouldn't really know what I call myself.
Yeah, but cinematographer is more like manipulating light.
Yes.
So like if you do a lot of light manipulation, that's usually why I say that. Because whenever I do any project that's worth my time, I'm always doing something light-wise. I got tube lights, I got a 300D, I got kicker. Like there's usually a lot of light manipulation going on.
That makes sense.
Versus like at the events that I do, like the fight nights, like I'm basically just pointing a camera at things, so it is kind of more like a videographer gig most of the time.
Okay, so if I come to you and like, hey, what do you do?
Videographer.
Fuck yeah. So why videography? Why?
I think I'm just like an asshole, and I like when things are hard.
Yeah.
Like no knock on like photo, but being able to shoot raw, it really lets you get away with a lot of things that you do wrong on the day. Like if you don't set your white balance, if you set your white balance to like 10,000 and everything's blue, like you can fix it later.
Little noise reduction action, you're chilling.
Yeah, well, just having the raw, like you can put everything back to normal and it won't look any different. Video's not like that at all.
It's not
video's like it's got to be dialed in like on the day. So I don't know. I think I liked that it was difficult, and then obviously adding in the audio element, like knowing some sound design, and like I used to make music back in the day, so I know all about that. So I was already like, all right, I got the keys to this. I just need to figure out this part of it, and then it'll be dialed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, video is definitely where the boys get separated from the men. That's for sure.
Oh yeah. It's definitely. I will say, like, it's not as fun of an editing experience. Because like with photo, like you could just put
memes.
You
like
could put music on and you're like just chilling, doing your thing. But like video, it's literally just like
Yeah, 100. That's why I try not to pick any of my favorite songs when I do editing, because I know I'm gonna hate it afterwards.
Yeah.
I've heard
Exactly.
times already. Like any new weekend release, I'm not doing that. But when I'm asking you why videography, like what does it mean to you? Why are you so passionate about it? Why is this your thing? You know what I mean? I know you like a challenge. But what does it mean to you?
I think it kind of depends on the avenue that you take. I took kind of like a harder avenue, I'd say, like what we were talking about with working with a lot of fighters and stuff. Because obviously, like, you're not going to make a lot of money off the fighters themselves, because like when you're fighting amateur, like you don't get paid, and like you're trying to build a career on your own, let alone doing something with a video person. So it's very like, since there's no like ulterior motives behind the relationship, like you ever talk to somebody who's like worth like a lot, or like they're doing really well, and like sometimes like I feel like a little bit weird being around them because they feel like you're trying to like sponge off of them or like get something from them. It's not like that with the fighters specifically. Like everybody that I've met, they're just like the salt of the earth, like the nicest people ever. Like they'll just invite you to your home. And like,
what industry is like the opposite of that? Like
anything related to the like movie, like TV industry. There's been so many times where I've been hit up by people where they're like, hey, can you take photos for this person? They're going to be on a TV show and your photos will be in a magazine. So we'll pay you an exposure. And I'm like, I don't want to be known that way. And I don't care to be known that way. You know, like I don't care to be famous because I took pictures of somebody famous. Because at the end of the day, like if it's like how I was telling you with my beautiful fiance and her wedding stuff. She posted a TikTok video, one of her elopements she did in Vegas. Now everybody wants her to do elopements in Vegas, so she's getting all these bookings. I don't want to be known as that guy and then get stuck there.
No, that's good. And that brings me back to my following. Like I was just kind of talking to you about how I was bummed that my audience is growing slow, but I think that's also something that I have going for me. I get to build my audience one follower at a time, because a lot of people, they want to blow up off of one video, and it may not be particularly a video, you know, that they're mostly excited to make, but now you have 100,000 followers waiting for you to keep on making videos kind of like that, and you're stuck in that rut.
I think virality is bad for about 80% of people. Personally.
Why do you say that?
Because depending on the kind of business that you're running, it doesn't benefit you as far as generating revenue. So like the fight night's a good example. Like on the page that I run, I do all the videos and everything for, we don't have a ton of followers. We got like around 5,000, but there's other promotions that have way more followers. But then you look at the engagement and it's on the same level as ours. Like if you look at some of the other big ones, they might have like 50K followers, but they have like the same views that we have. So it's like, it's almost better to just have a small group of people that care about everything that you do, and then build up slowly from there, versus you have one clip that goes like mega viral and you're getting people all over the country, but those are people that are never going to interact with your business. So
that is a good point. That is a very good point. Yes.
So it's the same way with a lot of the like food related stuff. Like there's a lot of like cool clipped stuff where like they go super viral, but it doesn't always generate money, you know? So I don't think it's a net negative for businesses like that, but I just don't think it helps them a ton either, you know?
No, that makes sense. There's another good question.
And it's kind of more like local stuff. Like if it's related to, if you're like a public figure or something like that, then it helps to be viral, because it doesn't matter. You're just trying to get your high score up, you know? Like you're not trying to sell something out of a specific location. Yeah. So then how did you get started then?
Okay, so for me, mine was a little bit revolved around a little more self-centeredness. I like to take pictures of myself, and I would always have my photographer friend. At the time, his name was Nico, and we'd always go out at lunchtime, and he would take a bunch of cool pictures of me and stuff, and it would blow my mind. Like I always thought it was like sorcery like the way these photos would come out and stuff. And so I finally took a stab at it, and then people were like, oh, I kind of like your stuff. Let me get you for this. Let me get you for that. And in a sense, it made me feel important. It got me in doors that I wouldn't have normally been able to get into, in certain rooms with, higher up people and stuff. I like working with the bosses and stuff. And then I also just over time developed a passion for the game. I've had my ups and downs and questioning myself and stuff, but overall, I think this is just one of the things that I've been really good at, and I just stuck with it and ran with it. You know what I mean? Before this, I wanted to be an NFL player, do football and stuff like that. And then once I didn't have that anymore, because I tied that to my personality, and I was like, man, if I don't have that, what am I? You know what I mean? And so photography and videography kind of came into play. And it was really cool because it kind of filled that, I guess, void, if you want to say. So, yeah, if that makes sense.
I like that it's like you kind of built it into like your personality a little bit. I feel like for me, it's like a little bit of the opposite, where I feel like the more I do it, the shittier I feel like I am at it.
And I think it can be a pro and it can be a con, because think about it. What if one day I think of crazy things, like my eyesight goes or something. I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. And that's why I don't think you really should tie it into your personality in the ways it benefits me. I think it keeps me going. It gives me a sense of purpose in this life. And I think people don't get the most out of life when they don't have purpose, so I'm glad I have that. But at the same time, if you weren't doing photography and videography, the fact that it is tied to my personality, it does worry me that it's kind of like an NFL player or a basketball player. When they're done and retired and they're old, they don't know what to do. They have all this money, and that's why they go broke, because they're just they're just buying things they don't really need. They're purposeless. Their whole life they've been trying to get to this one moment, they got it, and then they retire a lot quicker than they expected, and then it's just kind of like, oh, what do I do? But you're like, Shaq used his life perfectly. He's not just a basketball player, he's an entertainer, he's a businessman, he's doing a
DJ.
Yeah, a DJ, bro. You know what I mean? There's more to him than just a basketball player. But do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think so what was like that first job that you got where you're like, oh, I could actually make some money off of this?
So I used to work with self-made a lot. How it sounds like your first big thing was Dan Hendo. Mine was self-made. I knew a couple of videographers in there that kind of showed me the game a little bit, and I just saw the way they were doing it, and they just made that shit look so cool.
Yeah.
Like, because when I thought of a photographer or videographer, I'm thinking of this 50-year-old guy taking portraits, or like, the classic, football stance poses at the Pop Warner leagues and stuff like that. Like, that seems so boring. But the way they were doing it was completely different, with all their effects and how cool they looked on Instagram, and just them pulling up with their expensive gear and stuff like that. It re-innovated how I saw photography and videography, and I was like, I want a piece of that right there. So I got my own camera, and then finally he was like, hey, one of the videographers was like, hey, I got this guy who's interested in putting you on retainer. I didn't even know what that was at the time. And so he put me on retainer, and I was like, I didn't even think anybody would pay $1 for what I had to offer. And finally, after getting that first retainer, is what gave me the confidence to go out and pursue more. And it made me realize how much of my talent is in need, And then so I just kind of ran with it. It got better and better, more exposure. And then after that, I kind of dipped down a little bit. Like, I wasn't as consistent. I got a little more down on myself because I actually lost that retainer. And I didn't know how to acquire new ones. My biggest problem at the time was not marketing, as if I had nobody. When you're at the top, I feel like you should go just as hard with the marketing if you want to have that consistent flow of income, because most people are not going to be with you forever. Dan Hendo, God forbid they let you go one day, but they're probably not going to be like till the day you die. The situation. I mean, there are some situations like that, but very few in between. So I always try to prioritize the marketing just as much as I do the content creation. And that's what I'm trying to focus more on 2025. It's more the business aspect rather than the art, if that makes sense.